What's up guys, welcome to another worst to best list. Grab your lucky socks as today we are looking at the Dice Man himself, Setzer Slots. This has been the hardest list I've had to create. This is mostly based off of the functionality of the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy Advance, and the Pixel Remaster, and how we can operate the slots, and this will greatly change the list. An example is in the GBA and SNES, you can properly manipulate the slots to get what you want right at the start of a battle. Whereas with the Pixel Remaster, from what we know right now, it's a lot more random. The pause buffering is also a little more awkward, which makes it a little bit worse. So for this list, we're just going to be looking at the Super Nintendo and the GBA. Since these are all available right off the hop, availability isn't going to be something we think about, and it's only going to be usefulness for this video. Thank you guys all for the support over the past couple of videos, and let's get into this list! Number 8. Mysidian Rabbit. Starting off the list is a pretty straightforward one. If you fail the slots, you get a mini heal. It also does cure darkness, poison, and sleep. It doesn't damage undead characters, so a Muddle Legomorph would never be worth it except if you were doing it for the memes. Small spell power of only 10, and it is affected by magic defense, so the higher magic defense you have, the smaller it will heal. Pretty obvious that it's a low tier ability that is meant to punish the player, but it almost pours salt on the wound with a little, here, have a tiny bit of HP while we're at it. 2 out of 10 usefulness ability. Coming in at number 7 is Summon. This slot is a pretty interesting one. It can either be one of the most clutch, best things you'll ever get, or, more often than not, something you just really don't want. There are 26 possibilities when you use this, even more on the Game Boy Advance version, and it's essentially the Magicite item in slots form. Usually you'll get something that's pretty useless for whatever scenario you are in battle. But this is Setzer we're talking about, and he's all about gambling. So if you're feeling lucky, in the end, I'd only give this a 4 out of 10, and the only reason it's not a 3 out of 10 is because of the random clutch factor, honestly. Moving on up in the list is the Prismatic Flush. This move is pretty easy to pull off at the beginning of a fight, in the middle of the fight, at the end of a fight. The slots RNG for this are pretty simple. What it does is it deals non-elemental damage. It does suffer from split damage, and with a spell power of 84, it's not a terrible move. There's just a better one we'll get to later on in this list. Your best bet would be to use it as a single target spell, which makes it a decent boss nuke on the first turn. 5 out of 10 slot ability as it's easy to hit for some decent boss damage. At the top of the back half of this list is the Chocobo. This move is also very easy to hit, and it's great for boss fights like cranes and in something like a speedrun. The slots RNG lets you bang it out right off of the hop. As soon as you get this first one, you're almost guaranteed to get the next two. It has a low spell power of 36, but it doesn't suffer from split damage, making it more effective on mobs than Prismatic Flush is. It's a grounded move, and despite it being non-elemental damage, it acts like an earth spell and it doesn't hit flying enemies. So it's another 5 out of 10 ability, but for a different reason. Instead of doing it to nuke bosses, it's great for mob nuking. At number 4, we got Mega Flare. Now this is Bahamut without needing Bahamut. It's more non-elemental damage that does ignore split damage. With a spell power of 92, it is quite a strong spell. You do need either to wait later on the fight, or you can manipulate it at the beginning of a fight using an echo screen right off the hop. It's not easy with the pause buffering to get, but you can do it after the echo screen animation is done. If you're doing a natural magic run or something along those lines, it's actually a really good ability to have in your back pocket. 7 out of 10 ability for nuking multi-enemies all at once. Taking home the bronze today is Dive Bomb. This move isn't available first turn of a fight, but you can manipulate slots using certain items to get the RNG spot you need for slots to be possible. This is another spot where we're going to use an echo screen, and this is where these slots really start to shine. Dive Bomb has a spell power of 130, but it does suffer from split damage. This means it's about as strong as a tier 3 spell. It's very powerful for boss nuking. It looks sick. It doesn't really make sense in a lot of spots where you have the airship come in and bomb a whole bunch of stuff, but that doesn't matter. For an 8 out of 10 ability, you're going to be killing some bosses in style. Coming in at number 2 is Joker Doom. We're going to call it version 1. This move may seem like a really bad one. At the end of the day, it kills your entire party, and that's not good. However, using a fun little bug in the game, you can actually use this to target enemies. Casting Muddle on a party member and then breaking it will screw with the targeting. This means it ends up getting retargeted onto what would be a full party death sentence onto the enemies. This is only quote-unquote required on a few bosses, and the bosses are as follows. Ultros 1, 3, and 4, not 2 for some reason. Foombaba, all 3 versions. Welk, for some reason. Vargas and Ipu, again, for some reason. Ifrit and Shiva, again, for some reason. Guardian, Behemoth, the living form, and both forms of Chatternook, as well as Rexel and friends. You can also use it on tiers 1, 2, and 3 in the final boss fight. This is where Reverse Joker Doom, as it's now going to be called, really starts to shine. There's an even better option for all other fights other than the ones that we just mentioned, and we're going to get to that right away. This is a solid 8.5 ability, as it's a great backup in the event that you screw up the next one. Coming in at the top of the list, if you didn't know already, it's Joker Doom. This move has a simple setup of just using an echo screen, and then you can kill everything on screen with the fabled 777. The first 7 is the toughest to hit, requiring some pause buffering, but the next 2 have a 20 frame window to hit, or 1/3 of a second, in a very consistent spot, so you don't even need to pause buffer it. This will work on every enemy in the game, except the ones that we listed in the previous Joker Doom. This move will also bypass death immunities, making it an even better version of Vanish Doom since you can do it with one character. Honestly, at the end of the day, you really have no reason to do any other slot if you want to be overpowered and just kill everything in one shot. This literally does more than 9,999 damage. Even if you could have someone do that 8 times in a row, this just does it so much faster. There are some spots where enemies can throw off the slots RNG using specific spells. And these can be ninjas throwing skeins, IF doing an atomic ray. Also, if you mess up the initial echo screen Joker Doom, there is a couple of backups, but after that, you end up having to just be to your own devices and try and beat the fight the old-fashioned way. So it's not completely foolproof. Overall, a really strong ability that will completely break the game for you. 9 out of 10. In case you guys were wondering what my list would look like in the event that we weren't allowed to manipulate or pause buffer, and you basically had to do like what Pixel Remaster would give you, my list would look like this. Joker Doom version 1, where the entire party dies. Mysidian Rabbit, Joker Doom, Summon, Chocobo, Prismatic Flush, Mega Flare, and Dive Bomb. And that's based off of the odds of you actually seeing something and how easy it is to actually get. Thank you! So there you have it. There's my list of what I think are the most useful slot abilities in the Super Nintendo and GBA version. If you leave them up to a chance, it's a lot tougher, and why I had to omit the PR for this particular list. Like I said, the pause buffering is extremely awkward and somewhat inconsistent at times. And, as we mentioned before, magic spam is always the best way to kill things legitimately. But you can't argue with the fact that Joker Doom does make Ultima spam kinda look like child's play. Thank you guys so much for watching, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.